Not everyone is loving the DNC speeches. At home, Donald Trump is stewing in a hot, moist diaper filled up with spite and entitlement and just so much rage of the fact that he's not winning anymore. And the joy that he sees at the DNC just makes his diaper damper with every word he hears. And so he could theoretically work through those emotions. He could go to therapy. He could try to talk to his wife, who's probably not taking his calls. Instead, he's going on Truth Social and he's bleating things like this about Governor Josh Shapiro, the highly overrated Jewish governor of the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Josh Shapiro made a really bad and poorly delivered speech talking about freedom and fighting for Comrade Kamala Harris, which I desperately want to be a thing. Yet she hates Israel and will do nothing but make its journey through the complexities of survival. Let's pause for a second there. That sounds like him until complexities of survival. He don't know complexities, that ain't Trump, but anyway. And then it gets to this, hoping in the end that it will fail. He's saying, screw the Jewish governor of Pennsylvania. He calls him the Jewish governor of Pennsylvania, which is just deeply anti-Semitic to point that out. And then implies that he is a traitor to Jewish people, and then says that Kamala Harris wants Israel destroyed when he himself has called for a final solution to Gaza. Anyway, he goes on to say, yet Shapiro, for strictly political reasons, refused to acknowledge that I am the best friend that Israel and the Jewish people ever had. I've done more for Israel than any president. And frankly, I've done more for Israel than any person, and it's not even close. He's saying he's done more for Israel than any person, which includes any Israeli person, like their leaders or their founders or whatever. So this is at the same point, deeply anti-Semitic, wildly weird, and we're gonna talk about it. But first, I do wanna go to Josh Shapiro, governor. You can just say Governor Josh Shapiro. You don't have to identify his religion. Anyway, he was asked about these comments, and here's what he said.
The former president posted about you specifically and called you an overrated Jewish governor from Pennsylvania. Also said that you had not done anything for Israel, and yet he had. What's your response?
I mean, first off, I think it's clear over the last few weeks, Donald Trump is obsessed with me and obsessed with continuing to spew hate and division in our politics. He's someone who's routinely peddled anti-Semitic tropes like this.
Why do you think he is talking about you?
I think it's a question.
You specifically.
I think it's a question for him. I mean, he's clearly obsessed. He's sitting on the couch watching this stuff. I don't know why he is, but I think what's clear is that his words continue to be divisive. They continue to be hateful, and they continue to peddle anti-Semitic tropes.
What do you think, Francesca?
I mean, that was a good answer. And I'm glad he said anti-Semitic tropes because it's absolutely what it is. It is the hallmark of anti-Semites to tell Jews how they are good Jews and how they are bad Jews and how they need to behave and how they need to react. And honestly, the state of Israel does that to Jews all over the world. If they're really Jewish, they have to pledge loyalty to Israel. They have to support Israel in whatever it does. So we'll leave that aside. But the real reason that Donald Trump is obsessed with Josh Shapiro, and he can't say this, Governor Shapiro, is that he is hoping that he can convince Shapiro and other Democratic Jews that Kamala Harris, that anyone who, let's say says ceasefire, mentions the word Palestinian, not as a racial epithet, that person is anti-Semitic. And so he is trying to whisper to Josh Shapiro, this party doesn't love you. The real party that loves you in the state of Israel is the Republican Party. And Republicans writ large have been doing this, and they've been fear-mongering that they're the ones who are gonna keep Jews safe, even though we know anti-Semites, neo-Nazis, white supremacists who are so terrified, let's be real, anti-Semitic, terrified of Jewish people for whatever reason, and spin so many anti-Semitic tropes, hailed Hitler when Donald Trump was elected. They're the ones who are the actual purveyors of all of this hate.
100%. I mean, look, people who actually pay attention to politics know that this is not a difficult question to figure out who the anti-Semites support. And it's not to say that there are no people who vote for Democrats who have anti-Semitic views. There's a lot of that to go around. But if that is the thing that drives you, if that's a thing that you hold dear, you are a Republican and you have been a Republican for a very long time. You watch the right-wing media. We already know that. This is so super clear. And I love that even in the middle of his attempt to win over some Jewish voters, he can't help himself. He has to other them because he just doesn't, they're not part of his group. They're not him. And so he can't see them as people who get to make their own political decisions and choose who to support. No, they support the people that he tells them that they have to, otherwise they're traitors effectively. Yeah. And I just, it's funny because when Shapiro wasn't chosen to be the VP, and a lot of people were like, that's a terrible decision. Why would you go with Walz? Remember that when people thought Walz was a bad decision? People, including Jake Tapper, implied that there was an element of anti-Semitism to choosing that. Okay, well, I would love to see what the news, including Jake Tapper, say about this tweet, which is wildly, explicitly, and intentionally anti-Semitic, but we will see. And also, it's a little bit funny that at the same time that we're talking about how she and the DNC are rightly being criticized for instance, not allowing a Palestinian speaker or a speaker from the uncommitted movement to speak. He's trying to imply at the same time that she's secretly working towards the utter destruction of Israel. And just imagine both of those at the same time. I think one of them might not be true.